Rebekah in the Bible, the full story. The ancestral promise and the search for a bride. The story of Rebekah begins in the ancient land of Canaan, in the days when Abraham was very old and full of years. God had blessed Abraham in all things, and the promises made to him, that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars, that they would inherit a great land, and that through them all the nations of the earth would be blessed, burned like a living flame in the heart of his household. But there was one matter that troubled Abraham deeply, one thread left ungathered before he could rest in peace. His beloved son Isaac, the child of promise, the heir of the covenant, had no wife. Abraham called to him his most trusted and faithful servant, a man who had spent decades in loyal service, a man of proven wisdom and integrity, whom many traditions identify as Eliezer of Damascus. Abraham placed his hand under Abraham's thigh, the ancient gesture of the most solemn oath a man could swear, and bound him by the Lord God of heaven and earth to a singular mission. He must not take a wife for Isaac from among the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom Abraham lived. Instead, he must journey back to the land of Abraham's own kindred, to the city of Nahor in Mesopotamia, and from there find a suitable bride for Isaac. The servant hesitated. What if the woman was unwilling to come back with him to this foreign land? Should he then bring Isaac to her, back to the place Abraham had left behind? Abraham was firm. Under no circumstances was Isaac to return there. God himself, who had called Abraham out of his homeland and had sworn by covenant to give this land to his descendants, would send his angel before the servant to prepare the way. If the woman would not come willingly, the servant would be released from his oath. But the return of Isaac to Mesopotamia was not an option. The covenant land was the future, not the past. And so, with 10 of his masters' camels laden with gifts, gold and silver, fine garments and precious things, the wealth of a man whom God had greatly blessed, the servant set out on the long journey eastward toward Mesopotamia, toward the city of Nahor. The well at evening, and the answer to prayer. After days of travel across the ancient landscape, the servant arrived at last at the outskirts of the city of Nahor. He had the camels kneel down by a well of water outside the city. It was evening, the time when women came out to draw water, and the servant paused there, letting the weariness of the road settle around him. He was far from home, carrying an enormous responsibility, and he knew that everything depended on what would happen next. And so he prayed. It is one of the most direct and earnest prayers recorded in the entire Hebrew scripture. The servant opened his heart to God and said, "O Lord, God of my master Abraham, I pray you, grant me success today and show steadfast love to my master Abraham. Behold, I am standing by the spring of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Let the young woman to whom I shall say, 'Please let down your jar that I may drink,' and who shall say, 'Drink, and I will water your camels also,' let her be the one you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I shall know that you have shown steadfast love to my master." The test he proposed was not an arbitrary one. It was a test of character. Watering a man's camels was not a small thing. A thirsty camel can drink enormous amounts of water, and to offer this voluntarily, without being asked, to a stranger at a well, was a gesture of extraordinary generosity and initiative. It was the kind of impulse that could only come from a person of genuine warmth, hospitality, and selfless goodness. Precisely the kind of woman fit to be the mother of a covenantal people. Before the servant had even finished speaking the words of his prayer, she appeared. Rebekah came out. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, and Nahor was Abraham's own brother. She was therefore of Abraham's own kin, his great niece by family line. The text describes her in unmistakable terms. She was very beautiful to look upon, a virgin whom no man had known, and she came down to the spring with her jar upon her shoulder. There is a sense of freshness and energy in how the narrative describes her movements. She filled her jar and came up. The servant ran to meet her. He was urgent, watching, anxious to know. He said, "Please let me drink a little water from your jar." And she said, "Drink, my lord." She quickly let down her jar upon her hand and gave him a drink. Then she said, without being asked, without hesitation, with a generosity that flowed naturally and immediately from her character, I will draw water for your camels also, until they have finished drinking." She quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran again to the well to draw more, and she drew for all his camels. The narrative is careful to note that the servant simply watched her, silently, saying nothing. He was studying her. He was seeing, in real time, whether the Lord had indeed prospered his journey or not. The word the text uses for his watching is almost the word for wondering, gazing with a kind of reverent attention, watching the extraordinary answer to his prayer unfold before his eyes. When the camels had finished drinking, the servant took a gold ring, a nose ring of half a shekel's weight, and 2 gold bracelets for her wrists worth 10 gold shekels, and he gave them to her. Then he asked her whose daughter she was, and whether there was room in her father's house for him and his companions to spend the night. She told him she was the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, who bore him to Nahor. She told him there was both straw and fodder enough for the camels, and room for them to spend the night. The servant bowed his head and worshipped the Lord. He said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his steadfast love and his faithfulness toward my master. As for me, the Lord has led me in the way to the house of my master's kinsman." The household of Laban and the servant's declaration. Rebekah ran to her mother's household to tell them what had happened. She had a brother whose name was Laban, and when Laban saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists and heard Rebekah tell the story of what the man had said to her, he ran out to the well. He found the servant still standing there with his camels, and he said, "Come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and a place for the camels." The servant came into the house. The camels were ungirded and given straw and fodder. Water was brought to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. Food was set before him, but he refused to eat until he had spoken what was on his heart. And then the servant told the whole story, from beginning to end, with remarkable faithfulness and detail, omitting nothing. He told them of Abraham's great wealth and blessing. He told them of Isaac, born in Abraham's old age, and of how Abraham had made him swear not to take a wife for Isaac from the daughters of the Canaanites. He told them of the journey, of the prayer at the well, of the exact words he had prayed, and of the exact way in which Rebekah had fulfilled every condition of that prayer before he had even finished speaking it. He told them of his worship and his certainty that the Lord had guided his steps to the right house, to the right family, to the right woman. Then he looked at them and asked the question directly. "Now then, if you are going to show steadfast love and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left." The answer came from Bethuel and Laban together. "The thing has come from the Lord. We cannot speak to you bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken." The servant, upon hearing these words, bowed himself to the earth before the Lord. Then he brought out jewelry of silver and of gold and garments, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. They ate and drank, the servant and the men who were with him, and they spent the night there. Rebekah's consent and the journey home. In the morning, the servant rose early and said, "Send me away to my master." Her brother and her mother said, "Let the young woman remain with us a while, at least 10 days. After that she may go." But the servant was insistent. He asked them not to delay him, since the Lord had prospered his journey, and urged them to send him away immediately. And here the narrative pauses on a moment that is quietly remarkable in the ancient world. They decided to ask Rebekah herself what she wanted. "We will call the young woman and ask her." They called Rebekah and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" And she said, with the same decisiveness she had shown at the well, without hesitation, without a long period of negotiation or uncertainty, "I will go." There is a quiet power in that answer. She was leaving everything, her family, her home, her country, to go with a stranger to marry a man she had never met, in a land she had never seen. And she said yes without flinching. It was a word that carried with it an echo of Abraham's own faithfulness years before, when he too had packed up and gone, not knowing where he was going, trusting in the call of the God who had spoken. Her family sent her away with a blessing that carried the deep hopes of all who loved her. They spoke a benediction over her. "Our sister, may you become thousands of 10,000s, and may your offspring possess the gate of those who hate them." It was a blessing of fruitfulness, of strength, of victory, a hope that through her, something enormous and enduring would come into the world. Rebekah and her young women arose, mounted the camels, and followed the man. The servant took Rebekah and went. The meeting on the field at evening. Isaac had gone out to meditate in the field at evening. The day was cooling, the light softening over the landscape of the Negev, and he was walking slowly, alone with his thoughts, when he lifted up his eyes and saw camels coming. Rebekah lifted up her eyes and saw Isaac. She got down from the camel and said to the servant, "Who is that man walking in the field to meet us?" The servant said, "It is my master." So she took her veil and covered herself. The servant told Isaac all the things he had done. And Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah his mother, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. The text says it with an almost tender brevity. He loved her. After years of waiting, after the long grief of his mother Sarah's death, Isaac found comfort in the woman who had come from the other side of the world to be his companion. She was not merely an arranged match completed at a distance. She was loved. The long wait and the children who struggled. Years passed. Rebekah and Isaac settled into the rhythms of life in the Negev, and yet one sorrow persisted. Rebekah was barren. She could not conceive. This was a grief of profound weight in the ancient world, not only personally but theologically, for the entire covenant promise depended on the continuation of Abraham's line through Isaac. Without a child, the story seemed to come to a standstill. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife, and the Lord granted his prayer. Rebekah conceived. But the pregnancy brought a new kind of trouble, because within her womb there was a great struggle. The children jostled against each other so violently that Rebekah, in her distress, cried out a question that has echoed through centuries of readers. "If it is thus, why is this happening to me?" And she went to inquire of the Lord, seeking some explanation for what was happening inside her. The divine answer she received was astonishing and far-reaching. The Lord said to her, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger." It was a word that upended all the conventional social expectations of the ancient world. The older serving the younger. In a world ordered entirely around primogeniture, the absolute priority of the firstborn son, this was a radical reversal. And Rebekah received it, carried it, and it became, quietly, the lens through which she understood everything that followed. When her time came, she gave birth to twins. The first came out red and hairy all over, and they called his name Esau. Then his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, meaning, he who grasps the heel, or in its more ominous double meaning, deceiver. Isaac was 60 years old when these boys were born. 2 sons, and a mother's heart divided. The boys grew, and the differences between them became unmistakable. Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, wild and physical and free. Jacob was a quiet man, dwelling in tents, more domestic, more thoughtful, more comfortable with words than with wilderness. Isaac loved Esau because Esau brought him game. The taste of the hunt, the savory meat that Esau prepared, bound father and elder son together. But Rebekah loved Jacob. This is stated plainly in the text, without apology or softening, and it is one of the honest and difficult human realities at the heart of the story. Rebekah's love for Jacob was not merely personal favoritism. It was rooted in the prophetic word she had received before either boy was born, a word that she alone had been given, a word that told her the divine purpose ran through the younger, not the older. Isaac had not received this word, or if he had, the warmth of Esau's gifts and the pleasure of savory venison had perhaps softened its edges in his heart over the years. The tension in the family was written into the very names of the boys and the character that defined them. It would eventually break open. The stolen blessing. The decisive episode of Rebekah's story came when Isaac was very old, his eyes so dim that he could no longer see. He called for Esau, his elder son, and told him to take his quiver and his bow, go out to the field, and hunt game for him. Esau was to prepare the kind of savory food that Isaac loved and bring it to him so that Isaac's soul might bless him before he died. It was the blessing of the firstborn, the transmission of covenant authority and future, the most solemn and consequential act of a dying patriarch's life. Rebekah was listening at the entrance of the tent when Isaac spoke these words to Esau. The moment Esau left for the open country, she moved with swift decisiveness. She found Jacob and told him what she had heard. Then she said to him words that have troubled interpreters for millennia, words that reveal the complexity of this woman's character. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare from them savory food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies. Jacob's objection was not a moral one. He did not say it was wrong. He said it was risky. His concern was practical. Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing. Rebekah's answer was definitive. Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go. Bring them to me. She was taking the risk entirely upon herself. She dressed Jacob in Esau's best garments, put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth of his neck, and put the savory food and bread she had prepared into Jacob's hand. The deception worked. Isaac was troubled. Something in the voice sounded like Jacob, but the hands were hairy. The smell was Esau's clothing, and the food was savory. Isaac ate and drank. He kissed Jacob, smelled the smell of his garments, and blessed him with a blessing that poured over Jacob like an inheritance. The dew of heaven, the fatness of the earth, grain and wine in abundance, nations bowing down, brothers serving him, curses on those who curse him, blessings on those who bless him. Jacob had barely left his father's presence when Esau came back from the hunt. He too prepared savory food and brought it to his father and said, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me." Isaac trembled with a very great trembling. He said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed." Esau's cry, when he heard his father's words, was a cry of such broken despair that it has pierced readers across thousands of years. He cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry and said, "Bless me, even me also, O my father." But Isaac said the blessing had already been given, and it could not be recalled. Esau hated Jacob. He said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." The final separation. Rebekah was told of Esau's words and his murderous intentions. She called Jacob and told him to flee at once to her brother Laban in Haran and stay there until Esau's fury subsided. She framed it to Isaac as a matter of concern for Jacob's future wife. She could not bear the thought of Jacob marrying a local Hittite woman as Esau had done, women who had been a source of grief to both her and Isaac. Isaac sent Jacob away with another blessing and instructions to take a wife from among Laban's daughters. And Jacob went. Rebekah watched her beloved son disappear into the distance, bound for the same country she herself had left so many years before, in a journey that would take him far from her for many, many years. There is no recorded moment of reunion between them. The text does not tell us that Rebekah ever saw Jacob again. When Jacob eventually returned, after years of labor and marriage and struggle at Peniel, the text is silent on whether Rebekah was still living. Her death is never described in full. She is buried, the text tells us elsewhere, in the cave of Machpelah with Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, and Lee, the great ancestral tomb, but the moment of her death passes unnarrated. What she gave up in that final separation was immense. She had sent her favorite son into exile, perhaps permanently, to save his life. She had acted boldly and at great cost to ensure that the divine word she had received at the beginning, "The older shall serve the younger," was fulfilled. Whether she acted rightly, whether the ends justified the means, whether God's purposes needed her deception to succeed, or whether they would have prevailed anyway through other means. These are questions the text deliberately leaves open, inviting every generation of readers to wrestle with them. Rebekah's legacy. Rebekah remains one of the most vivid and three-dimensional figures in the entire book of Genesis. She is introduced with immediacy and energy, running, drawing water, lifting jars, making quick decisions. She is beautiful, but more than beautiful. She is generous, decisive, and bold. Her yes at the well and her yes to the stranger who asked if she would come were not the passive compliance of a woman without agency. They were the choices of someone who could read a moment and act. She was also a woman of prophetic knowledge. She alone had received the word about her sons before their birth, and that word shaped everything she did. Whether one views her deception of Isaac as faithful boldness in service of divine purpose, or as a human overreach that created fractures in the family that would take generations to heal, she was not a passive instrument. She was an actor, a participant, a woman who understood that history does not only happen, it is also made by people willing to bear the weight of the choices they make. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul cites the word God spoke to Rebekah: "The older will serve the younger," as an example of divine election that operates before human action or merit, before either child had done anything good or bad. Rebekah's womb, in this reading, was the site of a theological demonstration that God's purposes are not bound by human convention or expectation. Her story begins at a well in the cool of evening, with a stranger asking for water, and it opens into one of the great narratives of the ancient world, a story of journey and love, prophecy and deception. Family loyalty taken to its painful extremity, and the restless, inscrutable movement of divine purpose through the most human of circumstances. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.